There we go. Why we stuttering?
It's the internet.
You think?
Yeah, I was doing that when I tried to play a game earlier.
You're stuttering with you too?
Yep.
Do we look stuttery?
I ain't stuttering. It's a lag time, baby.
I know, but do we look stuttery on the
I
web?
don't know. Peoples, my peoples. We're back. We live, baby. Hey, you listen. You probably ain't never listened to that dude. No, when I tried to play a game earlier. That dude ran out.
You're stuttering with you too?
Baby.
Yeah, I think we are stuttering.
Well, that's fine. Ain't nothing we can do about it. They gonna have to hear stutter.
No, because they're not gonna be able to hear it.
Okay, well then let's just not do it today then.
That's not what I said.
Well, I mean, that's the only two options. My wife, listen.
It really isn't the only
my
two
wife,
options.
top of the hour is this right here. My wife is very, very loving, caring woman, and I wouldn't trade her for nothing in the world. But she's been getting on my nerve in a good way lately. Still getting on my nerve.
I feel like it's my laptop.
Why would it be your laptop?
Probably because I have a million screens open.
Like you got on mine?
Mm-hmm. Hold on, y'all. Let me take some of these screens off.
That's not how I've never seen nobody do a podcast like that, buddy.
What I'm doing right now?
Yeah, just stop in the middle of everything.
I think stop is still up there.
Hey, y'all wait on me.
I have seen people do that. I've seen people wait for people to join and everything.
No, okay, whatever.
Yeah, I don't think it fixed it though.
Yeah, it probably did, but I'm telling you, it's the internet. I just think once, because we got so many devices on it, it starts slowing down. Normally at the beginning of it's at the end, the beginning of the month, before it starts getting better. But anyway.
I feel like that's going to be hard for people, but okay.
Well, you want to pre-record it and then do it?
No, I want to fix it.
You're not good.
Because it wasn't. That's funny though, because I wasn't studying when I had my meetings and stuff earlier today. That's what I'm saying. I think maybe it's my laptop.
Well, the internet could need to be reset. Sometimes if you reset it, it does that. We did have that storm. So, but let's go.
I'm sorry. The internet is doing something weird, so that's why
I'm moving like a robot,
and I don't like it. But I don't know.
Come on, IT lawyer lady.
Well, yeah, to fix it, I would have to redo the whole thing.
I feel like Joe stutter.
Okay. All right. Let me see. Let me just share it real quick. Because we're supposed to share it with some people, right? We said we're gonna do that.
Nobody likes me on my page.
So let me share the link with a few people. Because we said we were gonna do it. So, but it is kind of janky right now, so we apologize. Did you share it?
No.
Right now, so we apologize.
No, it ain't doing that when we was.
It's not doing on the line?
No.
Okay, good. All right. So, I don't know. Top of the hour. What's top of the hour? Top of the hour.
Yo, big 5-0.
My birthday that we still celebrating.
No, we're not. It's over with.
No, it's not. Because I told you we have to celebrate it until
after Africa?
Until after my party. So I haven't had my party.
Oh, I can keep on eating then.
No.
Neglect.
Hey, Matt, it doesn't include for eating.
No.
It just includes that.
Listen, hey,
I still get special treatment.
You're married to me. You get special treatment all the time.
No, I don't.
How many times I rubbed your back this month? This week alone? Multiple times in a day.
That's different. That's because I need it. Medically necessary.
See, we ain't asking for content. I asked you a simple
question.
How many times have I rubbed your back?
He rubs my back now because
that's all right.
I mean, that's just saying. So you can't really count that.
All right, let's go. Come on.
Anyway, so top of the hour.
Let's
see. We last week, and as you all know, we were in New York.
Home sweet home.
It's for him, even though he didn't even know.
Listen, man, you don't need to go into all of that. That's not how this works. Just tell them what you did. Don't worry about me.
So anyway, we went to a lot of places in New York. We had fun. We toured. We went to the top of buildings and looked over the city. We learned a lot of history about New York. We ate
Other than King Kong climbing the
a
Empire
lot
State
of
Building.
food that we shouldn't have eaten. But it was fun.
Went to see Betty Boop.
We saw Betty Boop musical.
It was
So
actually
we saw a Broadway musical, which is Betty Boop, and it was really, really good. And we did all this, and we had fun. Went to like a rooftop bar. That was
right across the
interesting,
street
nice.
from the Empire State Building.
We went to another bar, and we went to a comedy show. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was
So we did go to a comedy show. He didn't like it too much, but it's okay with me. Let me get the thing. We went to a comedy show, and we just had, I don't know, we had fun.
Yeah. Like I said, I was born and raised in New York. But I was born in New York. I stayed up there a little bit. I was raised down here, but I did learn a lot about New York that I didn't even really know. Like, I understand it's the financial capital of the world, but they gave a little bit of details why it's the financial capital and how it started. You know, we went to the Rockefeller Center. And, I don't know, man. It's a beautiful city. I would never want to live up there again. Everything is too high, too many people, and too old for that now. But other than that, wife enjoyed herself. That's all that counted.
Yes, so we did have fun. And then I got a host of, so that was part of my birthday celebration. Then we came home and celebrated with the kids. The kids took us out to dinner. I got more gifts. I got more cake.
I tried to get her pregnant.
Really?
Oh, my bad.
Anyway, and then I got a tattoo. So I treated myself to a tattoo.
Very expensive one at
It's
that.
a very expensive tattoo on my back. It is.
It's not a tramp stamp. It's not a tramp stamp.
It's bigger than what I thought it would be, but I like it.
That was because of me.
Yeah.
I told you to do that.
So it's bigger, but I like it. But it's very, very. Right now, it's in the healing process and it's itchy. So that's why he has to keep rubbing.
See, she had to find a way to put that in there. Doesn't matter why I'm doing it. I'm rubbing your back. Your husband give you back rubs. That's all that counts.
He's been giving me back rubbing. And for my birthday, he's been doing a little bit of husbanding.
What the hell is that?
My husband is husbanding me. Like, he out there putting up the dog
Man,
pens
if you
for
don't
me.
care, man, go to something else, man. We ain't doing that. Come on, man. Go ahead with that. Come on, man.
Okay, so what's the topic? You want to start first? Or
You
me?
start. I always start.
Okay,
I got
so
130 topics. I'm good for the next.
all right, I get to you.
I'm good for the next 6 months.
All right, so when I was doing some research on what we could potentially talk about today, one of the interesting topics that I found through my research was there was a writer, and she was talking about the difficulty people are having with beginning relationships, like dating, that whole part of starting a whole relationship, and how the difficulty in it, what's changed from before to now that's made it so difficult, and what can resolve or help with that difficulty in establishing these connections. So the author argues that in one of the articles that I was reading, she was arguing that we are so focused on, people that are engaged in dating right now are so focused on emotional preservation or self-preservation that they have completely forgot about the importance of connecting with people. And so she's saying, like, true connections are being sidetracked by this need to, or this quest to protect ourselves emotionally. So basically, and then she lists a few reasons as to how that happened. So one of them was like a change in perspectives. So she was saying, like, before, when you were younger and you were naive, and it was like, okay, I feel this way about this person, let me just go ahead and jump into this relationship. She said, now we're hyper vigilant about looking for red flags. And she said, not only do we look for red flags that are present now, we try to anticipate what red flags may come later.
We had a conversation about that a while ago.
Right, and so she was saying that was one of the issues that's making it so hard for us to connect, to establish these connections that eventually turn into relationships. And then she said another issue was the fact that there's conflicting and disconnecting expectations. So she was saying that women want to be independent, but still want to be nurturers and want to be nurtured by a guy, right? And then men want women to split things 50-50, but then still want women to engage in traditional female or feminine roles. And she was talking about how that's conflicting and the expectations are just all over the place when it comes to that. So, and then she talks about how back in the day, like our parents, or, you know, some of you who have parents who are probably like in their 80s or whatnot now, how when they were dating, yeah, we may have considered those expectations to be more restrictive, but they were clear. They were more defined. Like a woman then knew, okay, if she's a housewife, she's a housewife, and that's what her job was. Or the man was like, I'm a provider, that's what my job is. So the expectations were clear, even though we may consider them to be more restrictive. So what do you think?
Well, we kind of had this conversation, sort of, not that particular before. The thing with I agree with her, but I also would like to add to that. I think it's social media plays a part in that too, because we're not going out meeting people. And anybody could be anybody on social media. I could be a billionaire. I could lead you on in ways on social media that it's a little bit harder to do. Meeting face to face, hanging out face to face, blah blah blah, versus chatting on social media for months, right? And then the woman started falling. So that's another one that she didn't speak on. It was something I can't remember what you just said. I'm kind of tired.
About the connecting and conflicting, disconnecting expectations.
Yes, there was one before that one too.
About the change of perspectives, like we were naive and we were just not looking for all these red flags, and now we're looking for all the red flags. Sometimes we're like even creating.
That's what I wanted to say. The red flag things, right? I when I think about that, when it first started, it was like really out. I struggled back and forth with that, because sometimes women, men, we could say something that's red flags, that's just naturally human error. But because people are so hyper vigilant, like she said, it becomes more like, oh no, they like that. And like you said, I can understand what she's saying. Oh, they didn't mess around and got drunk while we were hanging out, and I don't like the way they talk. Like maybe they don't drink all the time, or maybe they don't really drink, and that was, so yeah, I agree with that. That is actually spot on, right? 100%.
And I think another thing that she talks about is she said we are actually writing the rules for relationships while simultaneously trying to live by them. Yeah. So you're like rewriting the rules and trying to live by them at the same time. So like that's difficult in itself when you're just doing anything, let alone in a relationship.
Yeah, because so you said something she said something. You said she said something that was very, very important to me. When we're talking about this. If you have a clear-cut path of what it is, and what it's going to be, which is something that I'm going to address in a minute too, that I want to say, then it's a lot easier not to get the things confused. Like, you know how they did back in the day, they try to take some of that, put it in today's society, and this, that, and the third. That's where, like she said, that's where it get confused. You got that clear-cut thing, then all right, I'm going to go out and work, you stay at home, take care of kids, It's no 50-50 or no, oh, you should do this and you should. No, you already know what you're supposed to do as a wife, if that's the the role that you're playing. And so the clear cut, which goes all the way back to the communication thing, being clear of what you want or what you expect out of that relationship from the beginning could solve all of that. I posted this on my Facebook page the other day, or in a group or something, going into that leads right into what I was going to say. All this 50-50, and I don't date a man that do this, and I don't date a man or a woman, man, I don't want a woman that expect me. that's fine. Everybody has, this is what I say, we talked about this, everybody has their rights.
Mhm.
But if you communicate that, if I meet you, hey, we go on a date, and we talking, one of the things that should come up for me
Mhm.
and you, like, because I am about that, like, I'm not taking care of no woman. Like, so what is your goals or whatever, this, that, and the third.
Mhm.
Oh, I want to be a housewife. Yeah, now I'm not doing that.
Right.
You can stop that right there.
Mhm.
Then you don't even have the conversation of let's go half or this, that, and the third versus trying to, whoever manipulate who or what, whichever it is. And then you get down the line, y'all got feelings involved.
Mhm.
And now, you expecting one thing, he's expecting another. And it's all messed up.
But I think the important thing that you talk about is the manipulation, right? Because I understand that we have always engaged in some form of impression management, right? And I don't know, maybe this is part of that self-preservation of trying to protect ourselves too. But so we've always engaged in it, but the level to which people do so now, they will pretend like they can adhere to an expectation, even though they know they can't. And so you have to have both. You have to have a person that's willing to speak about what their expectations are truly. And at the same time, the person on the receiving end has to be able to say, like, okay, yeah, that's for me, or yeah, that's not for me, or no, that's not for me. But I think what you also have is not only are people failing to list their expectation, but then the ones who do, you have the other person for whatever reason, because they don't want to just automatically just be cut loose.
Well, that's selfish.
That will say like, okay, well, yeah, that's okay with me too, knowing that that's not okay with them. Now, maybe they figure they can try to make it okay with them, but if we're talking about communication, then it's important to say, hey, even if they say something like, hey, that's not something I really thought about, or that's something that I normally wouldn't agree with, but let me think about that. Like, anything is better than to just say, yeah, I'm good with it, knowing that you don't even know if you're really good with it or not.
And that impression management is a real thing, because sometimes I've done it with you, and I did a couple things that I just realized I thought that I was going to be able to do, and then it's like, yeah, no, I can't do that. Right. So I had to kind of resort, and it makes, first of all, it makes me feel bad, because especially now you're my wife, but it should make the average person that's dating somebody feel, it makes them look bad, because now you kind of look like a liar. Like, what were you said you was going to do this, or you was going to change this, or try to do this, whatever it is, and now you're just doing the same thing.
Right.
So that kind of makes you look bad at that point.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know, man. It's interesting. I agree with that. I still say the social media thing. Oh, no,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say the social media meeting people. Does it happen? We got married because of social media, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to do a study and see the statistics on people. I know it's a lot of people that's meeting on social media, but I would like to see how many people actually meeting and going forward 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, lifetime together, versus walking down the street. Hey, what's your name? Hey, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
Because even with us, look how long it was before I met you at the end of December. I didn't get to see you until like the 3rd week of January.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's not really traditional for me.
That's true. But I think even with social media, that like you were talking about before, that gives people even a bigger, I don't know, I want to say bigger, but that gives people even more cloak to engage in impression management. Because like you said, you can be whoever you want to be on social media.
Right.
And so it gives them, or it maybe even empowers them to, or makes them feel, I don't want to say feel okay, but makes them feel more like they're not going to get found out about lying about something, even if
as easy
as they would if they were in front of the person. So even a person who, for example, if you encounter a person and you say like, oh, I know the type of people that they like, or they like people who, I don't know, play music, or who can play a musical instrument, or who can play piano, and this is their thing. I mean, you can be on social media and just be like, yeah, I can do it, but you ain't never gonna prove it for a long time.
For a long time, right?
Because you faking it over social media. So I think that's the other thing. That's the whole thing with the expectations. But she did give some ways in which she thought that these connections can be healthier. And she actually stated like the breakups of 2024. She said, I need to go research this and I can bring it back for our next show. But she was saying that if you thought that there were a lot of breakups in 2024, there actually was. Like, there were a lot of relationships that broke up, dissolved, never got really off the ground as far as forming in 2024. And she was saying in 2025, we can kind of look at that as like a reset, an opportunity to reset and say, okay, look, the way we've been doing it isn't quite the way that we should do it. Let us take a step back and try to reset and work on developing healthier relationships. And one of the ways she said you could do this is by not being so worried about meeting the right person, but making sure you're the right person for someone to meet, right? So instead of focusing on, okay, I got to meet Mr. Right, or I got to meet this woman that fulfills all these things, making sure that you're okay, that you're right, that you are a right person for somebody. And that entails making sure you're mentally healthy, making sure you are emotionally stable, professionally secure, and with have the capacity to actually invest in someone else other than yourself. Because some people don't even have that capacity, but yet they're out there looking for a relationship. Why are you looking for a relationship if you can't even emotionally invest in yourself? Or if you can't even give yourself time? If you want them people that work all the time and you won't even take time to engage in self-care, why are you even looking for a relationship? Because that may be something that's expected in a relationship. And then she also says that we have to know how to date, know our non-negotiables. And non-negotiables are bigger than just superficial things. They're fundamental core values that we have. And we have to be willing to say, these are my fundamental core values. These are my non-negotiables that I cannot negotiate on. And then you also have to recognize your peripherals. So the things that you don't really need, but that you just would like. These are good to have, but they're not going to make or break a relationship that I'm in. So there was a distinction made between the fundamentals and the peripheral. And for example, I even looked up like what is the breakdown of sort of example of fundamental needs. And so some of the fundamental needs that researchers have come up with is, for example, emotional support, respect, trust, communication, affection, companionship. And some of the peripheral needs are specific romantic gestures. So for example, you're saying, well, I like for a guy to bring me flowers every day. Like that's a peripheral need. That's not something that should make or break your relationship, right? Shared interests. So some people are so hung up on, oh, well, we don't share the same interests. We don't both want to go boating, or we both don't want to ride motorcycles. And they actually, no, that's a peripheral need. That's not something, when you get to the guts of it, that's not something that's going to sustain your relationship. And when you think about it, and when I looked at that first, I was like, well, shared interest seemed like that would be important. But then the more you think about it, it's like, what's more important to you, though? Emotional support? Feeling appreciated? To me, that would be more important than a shared interest. Like I couldn't care unless your shared interest is taken away from you doing those things. So that was listed as peripheral. And then she also listed intellectual stimulation as a peripheral. The whole concept of personal space as peripheral. And I would like to do more research into why some of these things are considered peripheral needs as opposed to fundamental needs. But I'm thinking at it again, it goes back to maybe looking at the core, what people are actually, why they're divorcing, what they're saying is going wrong in their relationships when they break up. And when you think about it, none of those things are probably what's coming up. And even when I did a little bit of research on why women are leaving, none of the stuff that I listed on peripheral, like no one was saying we don't have shared interests. They were all saying I don't feel appreciated. He's taking me for granted. We don't communicate. Those were the things. I don't feel emotionally supported. Those were the things that were coming up, not anything about whether or not you have personal space, and he did, that sort of thing. So I think that's important.
So I wasn't, just to let you know, I wasn't texting enough, and I was taking notes. I'm gonna try to stop cutting you off.
No, that's fine.
What I want to say. So I want to go back to the non-negotiables versus sacrifice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm gonna get a little bit personal.
Compromise. Okay. Sacrifice. Okay.
This is something that happened between us.
Mm-hmm.
No, she don't know what I'm getting ready to say. It just made me, when you said that, it made me think about something. So, when a non-negotiable for me was like, I didn't want a woman that wanted any more kids.
Right.
That, like, if you'd have told me you want more kids, like, I wouldn't have dated you. Like, that's over with because I was done with kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, those non-negotiables can become sacrifices or compromises.
Mhm.
So is there really a such thing as non-negotiable once you get married and fall in love? For instance, the baby thing.
Mhm.
I do not want any more kids.
Mhm.
And when you said that, it shocked me, because the first thing I went back to, like, yo, what? Like, you said no, we were good with that, this, that, and the third, right? So I'm wondering if it's a non-negotiable.
Mhm.
Does that forever stay non-negotiable? And if that changes, like, do you supposed to leave, or how do you get around that?
Mhm.
Or do you have to compromise? Those two other things I want to talk to. Both of those led right into it. Or do you have to compromise?
Mhm.
Or should you compromise? For me, it was like, never had a kid, being married. I don't want kids. Like, know you're a great woman, a great mother, this, that, and the third. We married. Hell no, I don't want kids. But like, what am I gonna lose, right? Do it the right way. So it was a non-negotiable. But for me, it became, I don't know if compromise at that time the right word, but compromise for me, and I was willing to do it, right? So like, does non-negotiables always stay non-negotiable? Because I forgot exactly what you said. You said sometimes things change. When we had the we wasn't arguing, it was a conversation. But I forgot how you worded it. But sometimes, as you grow, things change and people change their viewpoints. That was one that I would have never thought that I would even bent on. Right. So that's just my question.
I think they do. I think non-negotiables do change. And I don't think that's a bad thing. But I think when they're talking about the compromise, I think there's some things that we may think are non-negotiables anyway, that were never truly non-negotiables. So that may be part of the issue, because there's been some other things that have impacted why we feel that way about something, right? But then I also think that in the compromise, I think in the moment, when you're looking at non-negotiables, you're telling someone like, okay, yeah, this is something I can't do. That I think that's like your first negotiation, right? Like, I think of it like in contracts. I negotiate these contracts, and it's kind of like, wait, I'll say like, these are non-negotiables. And then after you go back and forth with the person for so long, and they're willing to give up other things and compromise on other things, then you say, okay, well, where this was a non-negotiable, I'll go ahead and compromise a little bit on that. Like that, I'll go ahead and compromise somewhat, because it's give and take. So I think even with those non-negotiables, they're give and take also. But I think initially, like, you may have a non-negotiable, and it's important to say, this is my non-negotiable. This is what I can't do, and this is my peripheral. And start off, at least use that as a base, so that you're somewhat on the same footing, but also knowing that if your relationship blossoms and you end up married, that there may be some changes in those non-negotiables.
And then, something else you said, I was looking up things, and hobbies, right? That, like, you hit on both of those, right? Like, how is it, and how important is it, and how is it important that people in relationship have separate hobbies for their own mental health or whatever they like to do? And should their partner engage in the hobbies that they like? As well as, how important is it to have separate friends in a relationship? I don't even know how I feel about that, because I never really had a lot of friends anyway. So like, it's kind of a little bit different for me with that. Like, I think your friends, like you always said, your partner friends are normally not your friends, right? So I think it's okay that your friends are supposed to respect your partner, right? I think it's okay to have separate friends in a relationship. As far as the hobbies, here's the thing. Because you're my best friend and we like do everything together,
right?
I don't really, even things, as much as I love fishing, I don't expect you to go fishing with me, and honestly, it ain't gonna bother me if you don't. Right. So like, for me, it's not that important.
Right.
It only becomes important, like I said to our counselor, if you start telling me no, you can't go, or no, don't do that. Now that's important, because then I feel as though that I have no quote unquote me time or whatever it is, right? So I don't necessarily believe that those things are important as well. So going back to what you were saying, like I don't never heard. Well, actually, I have heard people say that I can't hang out with blah blah blah.
Right.
But I also believe a lot of that can't hang out with blah 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 is because the stuff you may be doing with blah blah blah.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. I think, like, again, so what it listed as hobbies was one of the ones they listed. They said that's a peripheral need. That's not something that is going to maintain your relationship. And I agree. I don't think it is. Like, I could want to read all day, and if you don't want to read with me, that's fine. It's not. I would never say like that's something that's a make or break for a relationship. And that's what they're saying. Like, I think we have intermingled the things that are truly needed for healthy and stable relationships with the things that are not, that it is hard to separate them back out again and say, no, wait a minute. And this is not something that is needed for our relationship.
And as society keep morphing into what a relationship's supposed to be made of, it gets more and more confusing.
It does.
Because again, some of the stuff that I see on social media, it's just like, what do you like? Okay, so you trying to be our grandparents' generation, or you trying to be this generation?
And that's what
because it's saying, not exactly, because they're not gonna mesh and mingle.
Right.
They're not, just like when we're talking about the dating more than one person thing.
Right.
I personally believe that you can't date more than one person.
Right.
And when I say date, I'm talking about going out on dates with people and talking to people on the phone and stuff. I ain't necessarily talking about sex, right? But when you enter that's a good point. When you intertwine the dating aspect of what I'm thinking now, like what I said, versus how America is now. I think like last year I seen that most people that meet in a relationship type form of friendship end up having sex within a week.
Yeah.
So then when you go back to the dating thing, if you're dating more than one person, then what's the odds of you if those stats are true, what's the odds of you having sex with that person within the month? Now you done had sex with 3, 4, 5 people. How in the heck are you supposed to find out who you want?
Right.
So my point of me saying all of that is, society tries, like she says, try to go to the past, try to do what's now. And these people don't even understand what happened in the past to even make it work.
Right.
Or find a happy medium.
Right. And it's definitely, it's role conflict. It's role conflict all day. So is wanting people to engage in roles in certain situations and then be something totally different. And it doesn't work. There's been studies on that for forever. Like, if you don't believe me, you look up role conflict and role strain. There's been studies on that forever, and how the hardship in trying to maintain yourself as a person, even engaging in that role conflict, and how much stress it actually causes. But I do think that, now I'll put the one thing I'll say about the friends. I'm not going to say couples need separate friends, because sometimes some couples don't have separate friends. Like, they grew up together, they all share the same friends, and there's nothing wrong with that. I would think I would think that anyone that they need separate friends, I think that's a peripheral need. I don't think that's a fundamental need to have separate friends, even though we know some people will have separate friends. I think that sometimes especially if you grew up separately, you met later on in life, you both have separate friends, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think, though, that once you become a couple, and that's just always been my thing. Now, it's not make or break for me, but I've always said, when two people marry, I don't understand why anyone would be making friends that their spouse isn't friend with, because you're both.
Oh, you want new friends?
Yeah, having new friends at the same time, that doesn't make sense to me. So that part of it doesn't make sense to me. But I understand that people do have separate friends,
especially of the opposite sex.
Yeah, and things. So that's really important. The personal space one was interesting too, because I thought that so many people rely on that and say, "Oh, that's the fundamental need," and that was listed as no, that's not a fundamental need. That's peripheral need. And I do have just one more thing before we go to what Jermaine's topic is. I had a picture of the hierarchy of needs for relationships, which kind of hits on, I think, why some of those peripheral needs are peripheral needs and not fundamental needs. But it says, like, The hierarchy of needs is self-actualization, the need for development, creativity, ego, the need for self-esteem, power, recognition, prestige, the need for being loved, belonging, inclusion, the need for safety, shelter, and stability. What's this other one say? Things in a way. And last one is the need for air, food, rest, and health.
Air, food, who?
Rest and health.
I thought you said breast.
No,
I was
rest.
gonna say, yeah, I definitely need those.
So anyway, that's the hierarchy of relationship needs, which is actually kind of interesting. But
she found a way to intertwine things in the.
Look, I don't know how to get back to the people though.
Jesus.
So
Buddy. Now you done messed
I
up.
done messed
All right, well, see y'all next week.
Oh man. Okay, I'll figure it out. But go ahead. You can start your topic, man.
Man, I don't even know what I said.
You have a list of topics you had written down. You said.
Well, I was gonna go to that one. Well, I did actually just hit on one of them.
You did when you were talking about the. I didn't mean that.
So I guess I seen something I was wondering about for people, that have long distance relationships and stuff like that. I was just wondering if long distance relationships bonds are stronger than the people that's in the closer proximity. Because of course they say absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? So I think, I don't know if it makes the bond stronger, this is what I'm going to say is part of the bond too, but I definitely know it makes the person's presence appreciated more. And it makes the person, the presence of the time.
Long distance relationships?
Yeah, because you can talk. I can talk to you all day on the phone, but it's nothing like having your flesh and you in front of me to hang out with, right? Mm-hmm. And it's sort of like craving something. Mm-hmm. Once you get crave it so long, then once you get it, it's just like the best thing in the world. Mm-hmm. And then when you have to go back away from it and you start craving it again, it makes you want it more and more and more, mm-hmm. right? Versus if I'm just eating cake every day, like I'm not going to appreciate it as much because I can eat it whenever I want to. So you take it away from me, then I'm going to want it. I'm going to long for it. I'm going to appreciate it and enjoy it more once I get it. Mm-hmm. So I think potentially the long distance bonds can be stronger than, people that's around one another all the time in the same proximity. Because think about it. Yeah. And I think the key, so what is one of the key things that matters in relationships? It's communication. Mm-hmm. And a lot of women says, our grandchild came in here. A lot of women says time and communication, right? So the time that you get with that person when you're in a long distance relationship, mm-hmm. like I said before, it's appreciated more. Because think about it. Mm-hmm. Somebody close to you live close to me, I'll get with them tomorrow or something. Right. You can't do that when you 90 miles or 100 miles away or whatever it is. It's like, I want to enjoy every second, every minute, every breath you take with you right now. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it could be. Now, what I also like to know is once those bonds are made from that long distance thing, mm-hmm. once y'all come together mm-hmm. and be in the same area, same proximity, same house, how strong does it maintain? Mm-hmm. Because do you at that point, because you started spending time with that person, fall into that same trap of not appreciating the time and not appreciating them because they're there every day now. So
I don't Matt said he couldn't do it. It's a lot of people that said that they can't do long distance relationships. So I understand that. But then I also wonder, because some people say, no, I can't do long distance relationship because I need to be. But I wonder if that's an attachment issue then at that point that maybe the person needs to work on.
It's interesting.
Because you should be able to thrive without being like, what if something happened where that person had to go far away? I mean, you should be able to thrive without being like this with a person. So I don't know. That may be an attachment thing that made somebody.
You know what? Let me say this. I'm sorry. I said I'm trying to work on cutting you off and I'm cutting you off. The attachment thing. Dude, when we first dude. Lady, when we first met, you went on the road with me, this, that, and the third, right? I couldn't stand being away from you, right? I don't care if I just had to leave the house to go to the, and it's, I'm saying that because you said the attachment thing. I just didn't like being away from you. I wanted you in my presence all the time because I liked you and loved you that much. And it's not as bad, nowhere close to as bad. Like, I don't really like going nowhere without you still. Like, I know I'll be like, hey, I'll go to the store, but that's just because I know you got other things to do.
Right.
Because if you think about it, 80% of the 90% of the time when we go to the store, we go together.
Yeah.
5 years later, we still pretty much doing everything together.
Yeah.
So, when you say attachment, like, you trying to tell me I had attachment issues? Or I got attachment issues? Like, no, I'm being serious.
No, I'm saying them people though. I'm saying the people who are like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. I'm just wondering if there's something else that person is fulfilled. Like if there's a void that they need a person to fulfill, as opposed to them really. If it's I don't want to say codependency, but if it's like a more of a dependency, then it should be for some people.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what my question is.
It definitely could be.
I mean, because and so I'm, it's just, I don't know. But I think with the long distance relationship, I think all of that depends on the motives and the intent of the people that are in that relationship. So I think, yes, people in long distance relationships can develop stronger bonds, but I think that only occurs if they have trust within that relationship. They actually both are seeking the same thing as far as being together with each other in that relationship. And this is why I say that, because if you can be in a long distance relationship, and if you not sure what that person is doing while they at home, you could be having all kind of issues in that relationship, and your bond is not going to be strong. So I'm saying it depends on the relationship. I think if you have two people that are truthful with each other, that are genuine, that are honest, they're not trying to get with other people. They're focused on each other, and they both know this. I think in that manner, yes, you can have a really, really strong bond. Maybe sometimes even stronger than the bond that people have in close proximity to each other. Because now you're on the phone, you're talking about stuff, you're exploring topics you probably never would explore. You're having a conversation that we were talking about people should have anyway. Mm-hmm. But you got time to explore those type of conversations. Because your time together isn't going to see a movie. It isn't eating dinner. It isn't having sex. It isn't like most of your time is on the phone. You have no choice but to talk about different interesting topics. And that's naturally going to include your expectations, some of the things like if you ever want a dog, if you ever want kids, how you like to budget money, how you don't like to budget money, all that stuff is going to come up because you're going to have all that stuff to talk about.
So you know what though? I wonder also, because to me this would be like a long distance relationship. When you had your law firm, right? Mm-hmm. How busy were you?
I mean, busy.
All right, because I've seen shows where, like TV shows and stuff like that, and I wonder how this works. Like, say you got a doctor and a lawyer, or two lawyers or two doctors, and all they both do is work. Mm-hmm. But you live in the same house, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. I know it could cause a disconnect, mm-hmm. but to the point of you saying being focused on one another, wouldn't that be like a long distance relationship? Is all you do is work, and then once you guys get time to spend with one another, it's like, oh, you appreciate that more
because you grow too far apart. Because think about in a long distance relationship, you're constantly contacting with each other. Yeah. When you're just working like that, you're not even touching base with each other. Right. It's like you're strangers at that point. So I think I do think that people in long distance relationship, if you're dealing with people that are, like I said, trustworthy, that are mature, relationship ready, know what they want, well-intentioned.
That's good.
You can have a really strong bond.
What age do you think that? I mean, it should be like from birth, but you should know this anyway. What age do you think people really, men and women? I know it's worse with us men, but do people really realize, hey, yeah, I do want to be married and have a family and da 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 da. Like, when does that click?
I don't think there's a certain age for people. I think some people actually know that they want to get married from a very young age, like even in kindergarten, because maybe
Yeah,
that's
but
what they were raised
so
around. And I want a husband, I want a wife or something like that. And I think there's other people that could be like, I'm not gonna ever get married. I'm not gonna ever have
I see that a
kids.
lot.
I'm not gonna. I mean, I was one of the people that said I was not gonna ever have kids, and I had 8 of them. So
8 kids
look,
later.
I mean, so there's some people that actually say that, but then what happens? Love hits you in unexpected ways. You meet people in unexpected ways. What she call it serendipity. Like sometimes that stuff just, and you end up engaging in things that you wouldn't have even thought that you would have. Like you end up saying, "Oh, I want to marry this person," but even though you thought maybe you would never marry someone. So
yeah, that's what happened. Because I promise you, I ain't gonna say I didn't think I was gonna ever get married again. Definitely didn't think I was gonna be in a serious relationship again. And just the ideal of me even saying, you know what, yeah, I'll do it. Let's just have a kid. I definitely didn't think none of them three. So that was non-negotiables that became negotiables. That's your fault. So I don't appreciate it. Don't you ever make me love you like that again.
But yeah, so I think like the long distance relationship, they definitely people can if when they work them and they're true with each other and they want something with each other, I think they do have the potential to blossom and develop stronger than other people's relationships.
All right. So what about the next one? The one with the higher education? Do you think higher education helps you make better decisions in a relationship / marriage?
No, not at all. I really don't.
Elaborate.
I don't because for one thing, okay, so now I'm going back to all these but now we're going back to these red flag things and stuff, right? And I know we just talked about not focusing on red flags, and I don't think that you should be hyper vigilant about them. But I also think that a person could be really highly educated, or and intellectual, but not be savvy when it comes to relationships and people playing games and everything else. So I don't think that people that are necessarily highly intelligent or have a higher education are better at picking partners for themselves. They actually may be a little worse in some respects.
So what they got to do is making decisions.
I thought you said making decisions about partners.
No, making decisions in relationships.
Oh, well, they make decisions in relationships? Okay, I'm sorry. I thought he was talking about partners, like making decisions as far as picking a partner. So, okay. But making decisions in relationships.
It was cool, Vaughn.
I don't know if I guess it depends on what decisions they're making, to be honest.
Well, I think that I say yes and no, right? And I look at us, for example. I think you've made better decisions in life than I even thought about making, and I tell you that all the time. But I also say that I think it helps you make those type of decisions, right? I don't know if because you still don't have to have an education to understand what's proper, what you should do and how you should go about it or whatever. Because I believe like with whatever your education level is, you make decisions based on your life and what's going on in your life at that particular moment. So I say yes, because if you have a high education, you're probably going to have a different type of productive, or I don't want to say productive, a different type of life than you would if you don't, right? So like, for instance, I'm pretty sure a rocket scientist or astronaut, I don't know how their education has to be, but whoever a scientist, right? I'm pretty sure the way that he goes about strategically doing things because of his career is going to be way different than Jermaine or a truck driver, right? Because like I don't have to make my life is not contingent on if I make a wrong turn here, something gonna blow up or something, right? So I would think once you start developing those habits, those type of things would start intertwining in your relationship. So because you're so used to, if I go left here, I mean, if I put the little green thing over here, it's gonna blow up. So I have to know that I got to put this here first, this here first, this first to stop that from happening. I would think that your mind is already starting to be wired like that in your decisions. So you're gonna see the future, or what it was. You're gonna look at the broader picture, further than somebody that's, just the average Joe.
I guess maybe because you worded it highly educated.
I said higher education.
Oh, first of all, the higher education. I don't think higher education equates to knowledgeable.
No,
and but I'm saying, so what you're describing is knowledge, though, because like my professor used to say, any Jack A can get a PhD.
I don't have one yet.
But I'm just saying, so like I don't think a higher education is necessarily the variable that would impact decision making in a relationship. Not necessarily. I think it's more about whether or not that person is knowledgeable about certain things, how they think as far as attacking certain problems and working through certain issues. But I don't think that has anything to do with higher education. I
understand what you say. That's
there's some pretty not smart people there.
Well, I mean, that's pretty. Like what I said when Isis asked me how I felt about education.
Yeah,
and that was similar to my answer. Like I think education is overrated and knowledge is everything, right? Which is
because what do you consider higher education though?
Well, I'm talking about people like a scientist, like a doctor,
so
a lawyer.
Just has a bachelor's degree and stuff like that.
Yeah, because like you said, I'm probably gonna get a bachelor's degree, and it's gonna be one of yours. So that don't mean like you said, but the point is, what I'm saying is, people. For instance, I use you. For instance, I didn't even think about this. I use you. For instance, right? The way you, because of your profession, being an attorney, the way and the angles you think about things.
Yeah.
That aspect of that is every part of decision and every conversation, debate, argument we have. Your brain is wired like that. So, and you're I have to brag. They said my wife was 97% smarter than everybody when she did her IQ test. So, with that being said, like you're a highly intelligent person. So, I would think that that's the reason you made the decisions you made in life. So you're knowledgeable and educated.
Yeah. But maybe I was already thinking like that, and that's why going into the profession of law was easy for me. So that could be it too. But no, I get what you're saying. I just think I agree that a person's training, so their training, their field of work, the more advanced it is, the more technical it is, the more they have to kind of utilize aspects of thinking that people just aren't walking around utilizing, is going to impact how they make decisions in a relationship, because they may be able to look at things and say, for example, you like even last night when you were talking about the transmission with the car, and I'm thinking like, okay, I get what you're saying, but in the instance that this is really this, then that means we didn't spend this because we could have just went to this. So it made me thinking that it makes me thinking that way as far as making decisions different.
And that's exactly what I'm saying, because until it did what it did again to me, it bumped like it did. My thought process was, you know what? Yeah, this right here, fix it. I mean, this right here is, I know, that's wrong. So let's go ahead and fix that, and hopefully it'll cure that, right? And then with you thinking like that's just the prime example.
Yeah. So I think that person, how they think about things more so than anything, and they're like,
and it don't help that I'm cheap as hell too.
Yeah, so that makes the difference.
So,
but I would like, now that you bring that up, I think one of the good topics to talk about next week. I
got 130 of them, probably 128.
I would like to look at revisit the topic. I don't think we ever went through it if we did, we might briefly touched on it, but there's been talk about people who were raised in love and people who were raised in survivor mode and how that impacts relationships. Because I think some of the stuff that definitely impacts decision making in relationships. So that would be interesting.
I'm the survivor.
Topic to think about. And yeah, you're right. Wisdom is better than just knowledge. It is.
I think wisdom and knowledge is hand in hand, though, isn't it? Wisdom is better than education.
Yeah, but knowledge is more about I don't know. It's hard for me to explain the difference, but there definitely is a difference.
I'll look that up. I'm definitely gonna look that up. That's interesting.
Let me see. Real quick, I'm gonna look it up. There's a definition.
Matt, you see what you done started, Matt? You can't say something to her, and that's what I'm talking about the higher educated people. You say something, and she don't know if she gonna look it up.
Well, knowledge is more about like what you get from information and facts. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So knowledge is primarily about possessing information and facts, while wisdom is about applying that knowledge with good judgment, insight.
So then I'm right. They go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand, but they're not the same thing. So yeah.
See, I'm not about to do this right now.
What?
They go hand in hand.
But they're not the same thing.
So you can have wisdom and don't apply knowledge, or you can have knowledge and don't have wisdom.
Yeah.
Well, you can't have knowledge and don't have wisdom by the definition.
Wisdom is the ability to use knowledge, experience, and insight to make sound judgments.
Yeah, you're right, Matt. Sound like it.
So yeah. And that's what I was thinking. I was like, knowledge is more like what you know, and wisdom is deeper than that. Wisdom is deeper than what you know. So that would make sense. And wisdom, because you can know something and still not make a wise decision about it. Think about it. Matter of fact, I don't want to go to, but we were just talking about this like last night or the night before. I was telling him, I was like, why do men make such crazy decisions, right? So like a man can have the knowledge that just because a woman said baby is yours don't mean it's yours, but do they apply wisdom to that with that knowledge? Do they wisely say, okay, well, since I don't know, before I sign this birth certificate, let me get a blood test? No, they don't. So there we go.
Yep. Well, I gotta go.
All right, he has cooked dinner.
No, I'm not cooking no more.
I'm done with my schoolwork for this week already. I'm gonna work ahead, but I feel so relaxed that I don't have to worry about, let me go finish the schoolwork before 11:59 tonight, because I did all mine ahead of time. So I'm happy.
Yeah, I gotta finish mine.
He has to cook. He has to do schoolwork and cook. So anyway, we will see you all next week at the same time.
Same back time.
If you have anything you want us to talk about, please feel free to inbox us.
And Vaughn, let me say this. We said it earlier, man. Me being in New York as much as I was and being born up there and all that, like I said earlier, I learned a lot, man. I learned a lot from there. Like we actually became sightseers. I became a tourist, right? I was born in the projects and I was born in the Bronx and 169th and Washington Avenue. She went by there with me when my cousin had drove us over there a couple years ago. And it's like, I never really went to Manhattan to walk around and to do all that. I was always in the projects playing basketball and everything else. So for me to actually see New York from a tourist standpoint, because that's what I was, it's different, man. I see why they say city that never sleeps, number one, and just everything in New York is big because
it's so big. Everything is just big, flashy, big.
Dude, we went by a marijuana spot. And literally, it looked like a spot where you needed to have a suit.
Tiffany's or something, yeah.
Right, like you had to have a suit on, and it seemed like the CEOs and higher up people go in there. That's how luxurious the store was. They had marijuana where you can order it on the screen. It was in a case. It was spinning around like this. Like it was crazy, man. They had a book of different type of marijuana. Like it was.
We didn't buy any.
Yeah,
but it was very interesting. And when I find the pictures, I'm going to post
like
them.
It was an elegant. Just think of your finest restaurant, right? That's how that marijuana spot was. And I'm no.
And the people standing at the door, entrance had
they had suits,
on,
yeah.
And
the people walking in there had suits. Like, what the hell are we doing? We smoking weed or we? Well, not us, but I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, you smoking weed or you selling jewelry?
It was funny because like we were saying at the same time, this other guy was standing out there. It was like, dang, it makes you want to go in there.
Yeah, right.
And he's like, yeah, maybe you want to go in there. So it was very interesting.
Yo, we almost came up. Where were you at? You about Niagara Falls, right? Because we almost drove them 5 hours up there. That's one place that she want to go to.
Yes.
So
that's where we're going next time.
If I get up there, I'm definitely gonna holler at you. But
all right. Have a great evening.
All right, y'all.
All right. Bye.
Yeah, I think Vaughn is in up around Niagara Falls somewhere.